Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, aka your friendly neighbourhood spoiler man, and with Spider-Man now officially out of the MCU, I thought it was time to look to the future and see all of the options that Sony has with the character, as well as where they could go down the line. Throughout this video, I'll be discussing where the film franchise could be going off of all the information that we have on Sony's upcoming projects, and giving my thoughts on what the best play is. These options all pretty much suck, but hey, what can you do other than hashtag raid Sony instead of Area 51? Maybe we should just pray for a Night Monkey movie and everything will be alright. Anyway, with that out of the way, I just want to give a huge thank you for clicking this video. Now let's get into the breakdown of what's next for Spider-Man. The next film in the franchise will be the Morbius movie. This is set to release on July 31st of 2020 and will have Jared Leto at the helm. The announcement of Morbius was quite head-scratching for me, as the character has never really been all that popular, even in the Spiderverse, and it seems like a weird thing to try and launch a franchise with. There have been examples in the past though, such as Guardians of the Galaxy, which saw D-list characters become A-listers, and Sony are clearly trying to launch the villain in order to create what I think will be the Sinister Six. With Spider-Man now fully back at Sony, I can see the character appearing in a post-credit scene that will tie together the universe slightly after he was missing from Venom, which leads me into my next point. From here, I think we will likely get our first fully fleshed out Spider-Man Far From Home sequel that will follow the character as he deals with being outed by Mysterio. One of the biggest overlooked aspects of the Sony Disney deal is that we did get confirmation from it that Tom Holland is definitely going to be in at least 2 solo Spider-Man movies going forward. It should be relatively easy for Sony to just pick up from where the character left off, but whether they are able to deliver on all aspects with characters like Happy Hogan, Nick Fury and so on missing will be interesting to see. It doesn't even seem like the name Tony Stark can be said during the film, and he of course had a huge impact on Spider-Man's life, though some closure was delivered in Far From Home. How he will go on to be the next Iron Man when Iron Man doesn't exist will be interesting to see, and there are rumours that the next solo Spider-Man villain will be Kraven the Hunter, who, similar to Morbius and Venom, is getting a solo film. This is apparently being written by Equalizer 2 writer Richard Wendt, and it makes a lot of sense for Kraven, who is a big game hunter, to be going after Spider-Man in an upcoming film. I'm very curious to see if Sony can keep up the momentum of the MCU without the larger world connected to it, but I guess we'll see. Next up is Venom 2. We know that this is in development as Andy Serkis was recently confirmed as the film's director, and after the post-credit scene of the prior film, it seems that Sony have a plan to have Carnage go head-to-head with the character. It's up in the air whether this will be released before or after Spider-Man 3, and this will likely change how the events play out. Reviews for Venom were pretty mixed, and whilst the film did do well theatrically, especially in China, I think that the company have to be smarter than before, perhaps having Tom Holland actually feature in the film. This could potentially be because Spider-Man has had to flee from New York to San Francisco due to his identity being exposed in Far From Home, and there's definitely ways that they can bring the universes together. With Holland free to feature in crossover films now, I can definitely see Sony using this as an opportunity to bring him across fully into the universe. There were rumours that Venom 3 will be Maximum Carnage, and potentially the second movie will introduce Spider-Man and form the team together before they go and fight head to head with the titular villain. Either way, this is one of the films that I'm most interested in seeing going forward, as it's pretty much going to show how Spider-Man will interact with the other characters in the Sonyverse, which I'm sure everyone is curious about. If we do get a Kraven solo film, then I think that the next logical step to take is a Sinister Six movie with Mysterio, Scorpion, Vulture, Kraven, Venom and a newly introduced villain at the helm. Sony have in the past tried to create a Sinister Six film, and this was hinted at in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, though they severely dropped the ball with it. This is the most obvious direction for Sony to be heading in, as it will create their own shared universe, and I'd put money on us getting a Sinister Six film within the next 10 years. And lastly, movie-wise, is the Spiderverse franchise. Sony will no doubt want to create another film in this series, as the film won the Oscar for Best Animation and was well received across the board. Not only did it open up the multiverse, but it also introduced Miles Morales, who is now an extremely popular character. Sony are now able to use Tom Holland as a voice actor in this franchise, and they could potentially bring him across the multiverse into this movie to interact with the characters with what will no doubt be a much anticipated movie. I think the Spider-Verse really gave Sony the confidence to go in their own direction, direction, and in my opinion this is one of the main reasons that the Sony and Disney deal fell apart. Now second to last is the Spider-Man TV series, which Phil Lord and Chris Miller are currently developing. This news was announced in the last week, and with a little hindsight you can see that Sony were probably gearing up to part ways with Disney and thus began working on this. I think the broken down deal has been like this for a while, and this is why we didn't see Spider-Man as part of the Phase 4 lineup at San Diego Comic-Con. Sony were initially planning to do a Black Cat and Silver Sable film when Amazing Spider-Man 2 was in development, so it makes sense that they would now adapt these characters to the upcoming shows. Who knows what will happen with this, and there are even rumours that Sony may be setting up a streaming service, with this being the launchpad of it, though this remains unsubstantiated at the moment. And the final option, which is the one that I hope happens, is that Sony realise they've messed up, they see the internet outcry and decide to go back to Disney to renegotiate the deal. I basically want Kevin Feige to be like, you couldn't live with your failure, so where has that brought you? Back to me. I think going back is definitely the best thing for the fans and probably the Spider-Man franchise, as I can see interest waning in it if it's not connected to the overall universe. Tony Stark, yeah, he didn't die for this. And it's baffling that Sony would completely take Spider-Man off the table, especially with how much goodwill should be built up between the companies due to their shared success. Whether this happens or not we will see, but it's the one I'm pulling for the most. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the future of Spider-Man, so make sure that you leave them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, then please like it, and make sure you check out my full reaction to the original Spider-Man Sony news, which will be linked at the end. I go over all of the ins and outs of the deal, so it's definitely worth watching if you want to know more. If you want to come talk to me about movies, TV shows, games, and comic books, then you can follow me on Twitter at DefinitionYT. It's the best way to get in touch with me, and it's the perfect place to suggest new videos and content. Also, just want to let you know that we're giving away a free copy of John Wick 3 on Blu-ray, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is to like this video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts on the Spiderverse going forward in the comment section below. The winner will be chosen at random on September the 10th, and the Blu-ray will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. This is a channel for people who are super into superheroes, so if that's the kind of thing you like, hit subscribe. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this. I've been Definition, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.